Hello everybody, welcome to the first lab of Network Soup. I'm your host Kaz Campbell, and today we're going to be going over setting up an SSH or secure shell connection between two different routers. So before we get started with this video, I know this is a little bit of an older screen recording, however I thought it still had some value to it. So without further ado, let's get started. Alright, so first things first, we want to go down to Network Devices. And for this particular lab, I selected two 1941 Cisco routers. However, any router will do for this particular lab. So let's go ahead and plot two of those down here. Let's go ahead and zoom in just a little bit. Get everything nice and adjusted on our screen. Give me just a moment here. Drag that over. Okay, we're good. All right. So the next thing we're going to go ahead and do is add some wiring between these two different routers. So we're going to click on Connections. We're going to use a copper crossover cable. Alright, and now we're going to connect Gigabit Ethernet 0-0 all the way across to Gigabit Ethernet 0-0. So you'll see here these two red triangles. Basically what this is indicating is that we have the devices connected via that crossover cable. However, the connection between the two is not actually active. So we're going to go ahead and set that up now. So to do this, let's go ahead and click on Router 0 and then go over here to CLI or Command Line Interface. So for those of you who don't already know, the CLI is where we're going to input different commands to actually configure our router. So let's follow along here as these next steps are very important. So on this first section here, we are going to type in for no, then hit enter. Then we'll hit enter again. Alright, and now we can go ahead and type enable. Hit enter. Configure T. Hit enter. Then we're going to do host name. Let's do R0. Hit enter. Then we are going to type interface Gigabit Ethernet 0-0 and hit enter. Okay. So what just happened here? Let's break it down. So that first part there should be fairly self-explanatory. Cisco's definition is it enables interactive mode within the router or device that we're using. This enables us to go ahead and input different commands and inputs to configure this device. So configure T is going to open the configuration mode. This is going to allow us to dig deeper into the running configuration file, make changes within that. You could also shorthand this to conf, C-O-N-F-T. So you'll see that took us into the configuration part of the router that we're working on here. So next we need to define the host name, which we put as R0. And then the next command we entered was, what interface are we actually trying to configure here? And that's where we put the Gigabit Ethernet 0-0. Now, if you remember, this is the port that we used to connect that crossover cable between the two routers. So we'll go ahead and continue on here. The next command we're going to do is IP address 192.168.1.1 with a subnet mask of 255.255.255.0 and hit enter. This will go ahead and statically assign an IP address for that router to use. Sweet! So now we're going to type in no shut and hit enter, and this will enable the interface and bring this router up online. Now that that's good to go, we're going to go over to router 1, pull up the CLI, and now we can go ahead and configure the next router. So we'll go ahead and continue with what we did last time. We'll press N for no and hit enter again. Then we'll do en conf t host name R1, router 1. And now we're going to go ahead and type in interface Gigabit Ethernet 0-0, hit enter. And then we're going to go ahead and type IP address. And for this one, we're going to do 192.168.1.2 with the subnet mask of 255.255.255.0. We'll hit enter. All right, and now we're going to go ahead and type in the no shut command and hit enter again. And once we do this, those two red triangles right there, they'll actually turn green. In fact, there you go. And now this is indicating that the connection is up, these two routers are talking, and everything is good to go. We're going to test this out by hitting enter, typing end, and then we're going to type in ping, P-I-N-G. Let's do that to 192.168.1.1. And there you have it. You see that 4 out of 5 packets made it. If you run through the command again one more time, you'll show that 5 out of 5 packets are delivered. Either way, we know that these routers are now talking. There's a connection established between the two, and everything is good to go. All right, are you still following me? Good. So the next thing we're going to do is set up the SSH, or Secure Shell connection, between these two routers. All right, since we're already in router 1, let's go ahead and type in conft, hit enter. Now we are going to type in IP domain name. Let's make something up. Let's do comptiacas.com. Really, anything works for this. You're more than welcome to make up a fake domain name and put whatever you'd like there. For this lab, it's not going to affect anything. So now let's type crypto key generate RSA and hit enter. All right. And now that we've gone ahead and done that, it's going to ask us how many bits that we want. Let's go ahead and just type in 1024 for this example and hit enter. Okay, let's go ahead and break this down real quick before I get too far ahead. The first command we entered was IP domain name, and this is to configure the domain name server, DNS server. The next command was crypto key generate RSA. So what this comes down to is that we're generating some RSA security keys for our SSH session. I could make a whole nother video, and probably will, about what these two commands are doing, but for right now, let's just leave it at that. So next, we're going to type in IP SSH time-out 60 and hit enter. And what this is going to do is this is going to set a allotted time that we have within that session. So if we remain inactive, it'll just cancel out. So now we're going to type in IP SSH authentication retries 2. And there we go. Oop, looks like I made a little error. Let's correct that real quick. Boom. And so what this will do is if there's more than 2 attempts on the SSH password, it will lock us out. We haven't set a password yet, but we're getting close to doing that. Before we do that though, let's go ahead and type line VTY space 0 space 15. We'll hit enter, and then we're going to put transport input SSH, hit enter, then we're going to type in password and put it as Cisco. Now, normally you would never put Cisco as a password, but for this example, that's what we're going to use. I just want to keep it nice and simple. So now we'll go ahead and enter that in, and then we'll also type end, then hit enter again. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and separate out these lines here, hit enter a couple times. So the next command we're going to do is show IP SSH. And when we hit enter on that, you'll see down below it's going to show us some of the SSH information that we set up. So we'll see everything's active now. It's going to show us how many authentication retries we have, that we set the timeout to 60 seconds, and confirm everything is good to go. All right, so now that we've got everything set up on router 1, we can go ahead and close out of this, and we are going to go ahead and switch to router 0 and get everything set up for that. So let's go ahead and type in end, clear out that screen. Actually, that part of the command line, excuse me. So now we're going to type in SSH-L. No, notice here, not 1, if you're following along, just a lowercase l. So we'll go ahead and type that in, and then we're going to go ahead and put CAS, and then we will type in 192.168.1.2 and hit enter. And this is going to prompt us for the password, which we set earlier as Cisco. So let's go and type that in. It won't show any characters when we type it, but when you get it, hit enter. And now you'll see here that we're actually in router 0, but we're able to give commands to router 1. And so now we see that SSH connection is good to go. We're in router 0, but we're able to give commands to router 1. So there's a few other things that we can do from here. The first thing I wanted to go over is just terminating that session. How do you cancel that out? And so in order to do that, we're going to hit Control, Shift, and 6 keys at the same time, then letting go and pressing the X key. And that will bring us back to the router 0 command line. Next, I'm going to show you that telnet, which is similar to SSH, but it's a little bit different, is not actually enabled. So to do that, we can go ahead and type in telnet, spell it right, telnet 192.168.1.2. When we hit enter here, it's saying that closed by foreign host. So it's not allowing that telnet connection. But if we go back up and repeat the SSH connection, type in the password, you can see that that is indeed active. Alright folks, there you have it. We went through setting up a real basic SSH connection between these two routers. I hope you enjoyed your lab with Network Soup. I plan to post one of these a week, so stay tuned for more, and I'll see you next time.